everyone, and welcome to Read This Now, the weekly webcast where Brad Gustafson and I share two books that we love and we think you should read. When, Brad?
Definitely right now, without a doubt. Great
Right
to see you, my friend.
You too. What have you been reading this week?
Oh, I can't wait to share it. We've been doing this show a while, Jen, and I'm confident we have a first. We're going to do actually probably two firsts on the show here.
Wow.
Also, as you can attest, due to our pre-show scramble, this is my authentic dwelling place right now. So I'm noticing I'm actually part prideful, part embarrassed at the large stack of mess and books on the table, but that's our life, right?
I love it.
So for the first time ever, and I think this is like something not to do. So if you're teaching someone how to book talk, you would say, don't do this, right? So you're probably like, what is he going to do? I am going to book talk a book that I haven't read, Jen. Okay. And I think in a minute, you might be like, okay, I get why you did that. So this could either go horribly wrong if I miscalculated my Amazon shipping date. Well, here's what I have in here. Well, you know what? Technically, I did read this when I was in like 4th grade. Okay. So I might get a little emotional. I tweeted out or I shared out on social media. I said, I'm trying to find like the first chapter book I ever can remember reading. So of course I have all these emotional connections to it. And I said, all I can remember is it was about like this trip to Mars and a stowaway. And it was a 2-book series, I thought. And I had Googled it. Like I've looked for this book over the years, but everything I found, it just wasn't, I'm like, I don't think that's it. And finally, like librarians and amazing people online and social media got me to like, it's not the obvious. There is a book called Stowaway to Mars. I don't think it's that one. I think it's this one that someone recommended. So I'm going to open it. Okay. And I just
while you're cutting it open,
I hope the book is actually in there, and I hope it is the book. Okay. So
I hope so too.
This does go back to like 4th grade. And I just remember like the first time ever choosing to read and then looking for the sequel because I actually really fell in love with the first one. And I will share this cover is like, you know how they remake covers and stuff?
Yeah.
So this is a little bit different than the one that I held a long time ago. So it's Eleanor Cameron, The Wonderful Flight to the Mushroom Planet. Okay. Wow. And I'm just loving this. So thank you to the whole world who tried to help me when I posted this. And my goodness, I do vaguely remember, and this wasn't me that recalled, it's like as we were talking online with lots of different literacy lovers who tried to help, somehow the name Mr. Bass came up and I couldn't recall that until they said it. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it like transported me back. I won't even try to do the math. 35 years or more.
Wow.
Like, there was a Mr. Bass in this book. And now, so I'm looking at it and I just skimmed. Literally, I haven't looked at this book in a long time. There is a Mr. Bass in here. So I'm quite sure, Jen, the book that I'm talking about, and maybe you should like, don't read this one right now. Wait until next week, or I just got to confirm. I'm pretty sure this is it, but I can't wait to read it. I am actually going to take my own advice and read this right now or when our show is done. So I'm holding right here like a huge part of my identity as a reader, Jen.
Sure. I love it. That is a wonderful story. And I saw
can't hear you right now, but
I could tell you couldn't hear me because I kept trying to say stuff, and I could tell you could not hear me at all. Can you hear me now?
I can, yes.
All right. But that is such a great story. And I actually saw your post and I did a little like preliminary searching myself, but nothing came up that I thought was your book. And I went back and checked your post like the next day and I could see that people were on the case. And I was like, oh, I hope Brad finds it. So I'm so excited that you did. That is wonderful.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it.
It's kind of the testament to the power of reading communities, you know, people who are readers, and we're connected through various tools, and how we just go dive in looking to help another reader. I just love that. So
it was so cool. And I wanted to share, like, I thought about opening this like on my own, but I'm like, you know what? Because you have been so influential as a friend and a reading support and partner. I'm like, I want to share this with Jen, and I want to anyway. And I think other people maybe can relate to thinking about this first series they fell in love with, or the first book they fell in love with. What actually made me go post that, I was at a conference last week. Oh, you had Mr. Shu
Yeah.
on. You
I
upgraded a
know.
little
Yeah,
bit.
that
That
was
was
fun, but I
awesome, by
missed
the
you.
way. I
But
was
I
like
missed you.
watching
So
and rewatching every second of that show. But anyway, I was at this conference in Utah, and one of the questions we talked about was what the first book or series we fell in love with. And that made me think, why don't I, here I am talking with other school leaders about this. Why don't I try to dig into that? So that's actually what prompted my post. So,
you know what I think, Brad? It's like if you read that book and
Mhm.
it turns out to be the one, it's the right one, then I keep thinking about there's this meme on social media called How It Started and How It's Going, where it's like two side by side. And
Mhm.
I want you to make one. This is my challenge to you, where the one side is the original cover. If you can just find that online, now that you know the title, I bet you can find the original cover that you
Mhm.
remembered from childhood. And then the second one's got to be you reading the book now. I just to let everybody who saw that post know that you found it. That would be such a wonderful story. I would just love that.
I
So
love that.
I've set an expectation for you now.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I love
So,
it.
Jen, what have you been reading? Like, legitimately, what have you read with? I'm assuming the book you're going to share you have read within the last 35 years.
Yes, I have. That is true. But I'm so much older than you too. Like 35 years, I would have been 15. But all of that, I think honestly, we're talking about things we shouldn't do when book talking. I think after your story, which I think was so touching and important and perfect, rather than transitioning to a different book, I think I'm going to save this book till next week. And we can just leave our 3.5 viewers on the edge of their seats to find out whether or not, hold up the cover of your book again. Hold it up. That's right. The Wonderful Flight to the Mushroom Planet. Whether or not that's really Brad's touchstone book for his first chapter book. So we're going to wait to find that
Thank you
out.
for letting me have that very special unscripted moment. It means a
No, that's
lot.
perfect.
And
Hey, listen.
someday I'm going to ask you. We'll talk about the first book or books you remember reading. That
Okay,
will be fun too. So,
we'll do it. But in
thank you,
the
Jen.
meantime, while our 3.5 viewers are waiting patiently to hear your review and your reconnection with this book, where can they go to watch previous shows and get other recommendations?
Right, right. So
Yes.
for more current titles, they could go to bit.ly/read_this_now, not only for a list of titles, but also for like the videos or the past shows, including
Mm-hmm.
last week's. If you haven't had a chance to watch that with Mr. Shu and Jen, it was so good, so touching, so powerful and awesome. I would say go back and check that one out too. So we will
It
be
was,
sure to give you an update in the future on this one. I'm quite sure this is the book, but
I can't wait. It was fun to have John here, but I missed you. So welcome back.
oh, that means a lot. Thanks, Jen.
All right. See you next week, everyone. Happy reading.